You ever notice how some people grow up in places where the land itself feels like a metaphor? That's the word Ibrahim Traoré emerged from, not some big city palace or political dynasty, but a small Burkinabe town called Kera in Coup, a place where the soil is rich, gold hidden beneath the ground, yet the people living on the land rarely benefit from its worth. That contradiction alone shapes a certain way of seeing the world. Traore was born on March 14, 1988, into a country still wrestling with the long shadow of colonialism and the unfinished promises of independence. He didn't grow up surrounded by politics or power. People who knew him early described him as quiet, reserved, almost shy. Not the kind of person who dominates rooms, but the kind who listens carefully and speaks only when necessary. The type whose silence hides a constantly waking mind. He went to school like many other Burkinabe children, studying locally before moving to Bordeaux for secondary education. It was there, away from his home village, that his worldview started expanding. But what surprises many people is this. Ibrahim Traoré didn't begin his adult life dreaming of military command or political power. He went to University of Ouagadougou to study geology. Geology is the study of what lies beneath the surface, rocks, pressure, fault lines, forces you don't see but that determine everything above ground. And if you think about it, that choice is more about Traore than most political speeches ever could. At university, he wasn't isolated. He became active in student movements, including the National Association of Students of Burkina, a group known for its Marxist orientation, history, resistance. This wasn't about radical slogans. It was about questioning inequality, power, and why a country so rich in resources remained poor. Friends recall that he stood up for other students during disputes, not loudly, but firmly. Small moments, the kind that don't make headlines but shape character. After graduating with honors, Traore made a decision that surprises some people. Instead of pursuing a civilian career, he joined the Burkina army around 2010 at the time. Burkina Faso was becoming increasingly unstable. The Sahel region was heating up. Borders were porous. Armed groups were spreading. For many young men, the military wasn't just a job, it was front row seat to the reality of the nation. Traore trained at the George's Namoano Military Academy in Poa, where discipline is strict and survival is not theoretical. Even there, he didn't stand out through theatrics. He stood out through liability. After training, he was deployed to northern regions like Kaya areas that would later become epicenter of violence and insecurity. Unlike officers who stayed distant from combat, Traore became known for being close to his men, present, visible, sharing risks. He later served with the United Nations peacekeeping mission in Mali, where he observed something that would quietly reshape his thinking. The difference between international involvement and local suffering. Foreign troops operated with distance and mandate. Local soldiers lived with the consequences. That gap stayed with him. Back home, Traore joined counter-terrorism unit fighting insurgents spreading across Burkina Faso. This wasn't ideological warfare. It was chaos. Villages attacked, civilians displaced, soldiers under-equipped and overexposed. Real crazy stuff. Traore rose quickly through the ranks, not through politics, but through battlefield credibility. By his early 30s, he had reached the rank of captain, usually fast in a media system where promotions often actually takes decades. But here's the part most people don't talk about. His rise wasn't just professional, it was emotional. Among junior soldiers, Traoré represented someone who understood their reality and wasn't pretending otherwise. When a previous coup in early 2022 threw Paul Henry Sandogo Damiba power, hope were high, but those hopes faded quickly as insecurity worsened. For soldiers on the ground, frustrations turned into anger, and anger turned into resolve. Traoré wasn't plotting power from a distance. He was assigned to lead an artillery regiment. He was already inside the system, watching it fail. When deadly attacks continued and leadership seemed disconnected, something shifted, not just politically, but psychologically. By September 2022, dissatisfaction had reached breaking point. What followed wasn't just a coup, it was a release of long-held frustration for generations that felt unheard. On October 6, 2022, Ibrahim Traoré was named interim president of Burkina Faso at just 34 years old, one of the youngest head of states in the world. But the truth is, his rise didn't start that day. It started years earlier in classrooms, in student meetings, in dirty villages, dangerous frontline. What made Traoré different wasn't ambitions, it was proximity. Proximity to struggle, proximity to failure, proximity to the people bearing the cost, decision made far away. That's why his story resonates. Not because it's perfect, but because it feels real. And that's the part no headlines ever captures. Till next time, don't forget to subscribe, share, and like the video. Let's meet here next time. I show up with